Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. Today, we celebrate authors, books, and the power of stories that inspire and transform lives. Today, I have the privilege of Andre
Yeah, Dre.
Parker.
You can call Andre, Dre Parker. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me, Queenie. I appreciate you.
Okay, tell us a little about yourself.
All right. I grew up in a place called Middletown, Connecticut, to a single mom. Grew up in so that was my I live in Atlanta now, but that was my humble beginnings. And just since we're talking about authors and things like that, I never thought that I would be a writer growing up. I grew up, had a lot of love in my family, started working at a very young age at 13. So they instilled hard work, dedication in me. But I was always kind of reserved and quiet, and I thought a lot, and I loved school and thinking. So I think I started writing poetry at first, right? So writing poetry, and I got into music and things like that. But I always thought deep. I guess to me it was deep. So
Mhm,
I
mhm,
started writing and journaling and things like that. And I honestly didn't become a published author until 2014. You know how you work with a lot of authors, and I appreciate what you do, but you know how you just like, maybe one day I'll write a book. Well, having loving to write, right? We
mhm,
talked about
mhm.
that a little while ago before this interview. Loving to write, I don't know. I just said, what better time than now? And that was 11 years ago, and I'm 52 now. So look how long it took me to actually write a book.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay, let's start with your first book, The Four Cornerstones of Your Success. Now, give
right.
me a brief synopsis of this book.
All right. So the funny thing is, I was at a conference, and that was in 2013, and I was so inspired, right? I was in this network marketing company and they had a lot of personal growth coaches and they were talking about, a lot of things dealing with, just getting yourself together. And I was like, faith, family, fitness, and finance. I heard somebody say that. And I said, oh. And then I said, I'm gonna remember that. And then later on, I said, I'm gonna write a book called The Four Cornerstones of Your Success. Living or, building a life beyond your imagination. Because, if you're a thinker and you're always in your mind all the time, you're like, okay, well, how do I take all these things I have in my mind to make it real life, right?
Mhm.
So that's when I started my journey to writing in 2014. I said, I'm going to write a book called The Four Cornerstones of Your Success. So faith, family, obviously faith, I grew up in a Christian church. And then later on, I started studying other different religions, but I just feel like the faith part is really like having faith or belief within yourself connected to God or your higher power. And then family, I grew up, in a poor family, but we had a lot of love and things like that. And then, of course, fitness, just so you'll know, I wasn't always the fit person. Um, I would say that I started that journey faithfully and consistently in 2011. That's when because to be honest with you, what caused me to do that is because I was diagnosed with high blood pressure earlier on in life. And I'm like, you know what? And this was like 34, 35. I was diagnosed with that. I said, you know what? I got to make some changes in my life. So that's where the fitness came in at. And then I became a personal trainer and then finance. While I was actually a personal trainer, I was studying stocks and bonds and, just understanding money because I made some good money in my younger t days and I blew a lot of money. So I said, you know what? These are my four cornerstones and I'm going to roll with it. So that's what kind of inspired the book.
Okay. You built your framework around the four F's:
Yeah.
faith, family, finance, and fitness. If
hmm
someone feels overwhelmed, which cornerstone should they focus on first to create momentum in their life?
I always have to lead with faith. I have to lead with faith because without faith, you won't, none of the other four cornerstones will matter.
Bingo. Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay. In this book, you highlight balance across the four cornerstones. How do you personally handle seasons when a cornerstone feels out of balance?
I love that question. So I have grown since I've written this book.
Mhm.
So I realize balance is a tough thing, right? Trying to
Yes.
make everything work together. So now my thing is, okay, how do I live in harmony? If I can live in harmony, that's because balance is so fictitious. Like we can agree that certain parts of our lives is going to take more dedication in our fitness, more dedication in our finances. So I said, how do I live in harmony, right? And once I realize that I'm out of harmony, where do I need to focus at? So that's my biggest thing. Just understanding that balance is, trying to get everything in order is more about just kind of living in harmony and being in harmony. I think that's the biggest thing. And knowing that you're going to dedicate more time in different areas depending on what you're going through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In your book, you focus on building inner strength before chasing internal success. What
hmm
daily habits or rituals do you personally practice to keep yourself aligned?
I have this thing that I call meme, right? So that's how I remember it. So the first thing in the morning I have to do is, besides showing gratitude, is I have to meditate, right?
Mhm.
Wake up in the morning, I'm thankful for that. But then meditation, it's just, paying attention to my breath, getting focused for the day. The E is for education. I'm always reading a book after I meditate. I want to stay studious, because I believe that we're all students of life. So I'll read, and then from there, I'll go to the gym. That's my motivation. I'll get to it. And then the E is for evaluation. A lot of times we most people kind of sleepwalk through life and they're just allowing life to give them whatever. So for me, it's like, okay, I need to evaluate how I'm feeling throughout the day, what I'm thinking about throughout the day. So my self-evaluation is probably one of the biggest things that helps guide me. It's like my internal navigational system to say, oh, I need to focus on my thoughts and trying to shift these thoughts because they're kind of negative right now. Or I need to pay more attention to my diet is out of whack. So let me get back focused there. Or I haven't been present in my marriage because I've been so busy in business. And let me focus. Let me put some focus in being present in those areas right there. That's kind of for me. That's harmony, right? But you can't really be or get in harmony until you're really self-aware. You know.
Mhm.
So practicing self-awareness, Queenie, is one of the biggest things in evaluating how I'm thinking and feeling.
Okay. Okay, now let's talk about relationships. Can you give us a brief synopsis of the cornerstones of marriage?
The
I
cornerstone.
love that cover.
So I didn't always have the greatest marriage that I have right now. So, and she laughs at me. It's one of those things where I grew up to a single mom. I didn't have any examples. I didn't know what a good marriage was supposed to look like since I didn't have any good examples. So, me and my wife got together pretty young and, coming from broken homes, obviously sometimes when people come from broken homes, they have things that they need to heal from, that they're broken from.
Mhm.
So, when it comes to relationships, I believe the biggest thing that you learn about your relationships is your relationship with yourself, right? Because every relationship outside yourself teaches you everything about yourself.
Mhm.
So, with this Four Cornerstones book, it talks about my journey as going from I can't say typical because I don't know everybody's situation, but a typical husband or person who just wasn't present, who takes their wife for granted, to a
Mhm.
person who realizes like, okay, you have some responsibility in this marriage. You can't, because a lot of times when I'm talking to couples, they want to fix their partner, and the only person you need to fix is you.
Mhm.
Right? And
Mhm.
your relationship and your perspective to your partner. There's nothing you could do to fix anybody. So I started working on myself. If you ever talk to my wife, she's like, well, our marriage got better when he started working on himself and stopped blaming me for everything.
Right.
So,
Right.
so relationships, like these cornerstones are important, like understanding what real love is. A lot of times people don't, they kind of skip through the real love part and because they have this infatuation and understanding what understanding is in a relationship and trust is and commitment. Like commitment is those things that you say, you know what, I committed to, being in this marriage. Like,
Mhm.
am I showing up? Am I my commitments, or yeah, am I tired? Because when you're tired or you don't feel like doing something, commitments is saying like, even though I don't feel like it, I committed to it. So that's why I have those cornerstones in there, like trust, commitment, understanding, and love. Those are very important cornerstones to bind any relationships.
Okay. If you've been transparent about lessons from your own marriage, what is one of the hardest personal truths you have to face to strengthen your relationship?
Oh man. So in this book, I have a chapter called, and this is personal, it's called
Mhm.
Man Down to Save Your Marriage, right? So me and my wife separated and we got back together. Reason why we got back together is because I realized that, I can't just, most people run to the next relationship and the next relationship.
Mhm.
And they're trying to find this perfect, like I got the next girl going to be different or the next man's going to be different, but they never really look at themselves. So my thing was, your habits are going to locate you. So for me, man down to save your marriage means like instead of running away from the challenges or the things that you don't like about what's going on, the arguments or whatever she's not doing, and this was in my situation, whatever she's not doing, and running to the next woman, like with infidelity and things like that, like how do I man down and tame the testosterone and deal with my inner conflicts and my inner demons and my old patterns, right? Because if you think about it, Queenie, we all have old patterns from old relationships and old traumas
Mhm.
that we bring into our new relationship,
Mhm.
but our ego says, can't be me.
Yeah.
Not me. How
Mhm.
dare it be me that's responsible for all this chaos in the marriage or the relationship?
Mhm.
So, the biggest lesson for me is understanding that I played a part in all of this. Now, if I can fix some of my issues and if she decides to stay the same, well, this is what I tell everybody. There's two things that's going to happen. Either she's going to, look and say, you know what, I'm inspired to do better and be better like you have done for yourself,
Mhm.
or you're going to be the better version of yourself in the next relationship. So
Right.
either way, I was going to win. So, and I tell this to people, either way, you're going to win. You come out being the best version of yourself. And if it so happens that you guys stay together and it works out well, great. If it doesn't, great. You became a best version of yourself. And now your new relationship's going to be even better.
Better. Mhm. Okay. Okay, let's talk about self-discovery and becoming more. So tell us a little about becoming more.
All right. So I'll be honest. I like my perspective during every book that I wrote. I loved it. Right. But becoming more, boom, it lets you know the journey that you're on and your growth, right? Becoming more in self-discovery. So, in order to fix these, like going through the four cornerstones of success, going through the four cornerstones of marriage, I realized, like, oh, we're all on a journey to become more.
Mhm.
Maybe sometimes we don't know what that looks like or how to even do it. So that's why becoming more was so important to me. And I wrote that like right during COVID. And that was a weird scenario because I had time. I was like, okay, so becoming more is about how do we get the most out of life? And most of the time, people think that I need to have more so I can become more. But in all actuality, it's all about being more so you can do more and then you'll have more. But the being is always first. So becoming more was like to me was that was my self-discovery masterpiece. And that's why I have a quote like in the wall of my office. It says, "The journey to self-discovery will be the most challenging yet fulfilling journeys that you will take in your lifetime." And that's the truth.
Wow.
Yeah, just because who I am today, discovering who I will be tomorrow, like who knows what that's gonna look like. And but guess what? You know how you really discover yourself? Through the struggle, through the pain, through the chaos in life, you discover who you are. And then if you're going through those struggles, you realize like, okay, I learned a lot about myself. Now who do I want to be now? And that's where the work is at. Like who do I want to be? I don't want to be the broke person that I used to be. I don't want to be the cheater that I used to be. I don't want to be, you understand? I don't want to be the person who's suffering from illnesses because I had bad habits. So all you think about it, all stems back to the four cornerstones for me, right? My lack in faith in myself and my ability because I felt unworthy, like a lot of people do.
Mhm,
My family was in shambles, right? Just wife separating, just trying to figure out this whole thing. High blood pressure, I had to lose the weight. And then, of course, finances that, I believe that's why I became a financial advisor is because, like throughout my life, I struggled with a lot of those cornerstones. And I realized like it was an epiphany for me, like, oh, I became more, like more than and so you'll know more than my situation, more than my circumstance. Because no matter what you're going through, you are bigger than it, no matter what that it is.
wow. Now, you said transformation begins on the inside before it ever shows up in someone's bank account or relationships. What inner shifts do people need to make before they can see lasting internal results?
All right, so you got to repeat that one because that was good. That was a good question.
What inner shifts do people need to make before they see lasting internal results?
All right, so what inner shifts? So let's start here because this is what most people go through, right? You have I always say this, everybody drifts in life,
Hmm.
falls off the path, but not everybody shifts. So in order to truly transform your life, you have to become a master shifter. And that means being present of who you're being in those moments, right? So this is where most people kind of give up, right? They'll like I'll just use the gym for an example. They'll start working out, and I know this because I was a personal trainer. People will lose maybe 5 pounds, maybe it'd be take 2 or 3 months and they're like, "Oh, I just is too much, too hard of work, so I give up." And I get that because I've had my struggle with, weight loss as well, and just a lot of other challenges in life. So, in order to truly transform you, a master shifter means that I gotta constantly shift. Whenever I drift away from my vision that I have for my life, my goals, I gotta constantly shift back, shift back. And it's a process that happens like it's not. I think people think that, oh, well, I've arrived, I've done it. No, this is the doing of it through your whole life. Like people say, you don't need to work out. If I don't work out, I'm gonna go back to my old self. And if I start getting laxed on shifting to make the things that made me better, like it's a life shifting is a lifestyle for transformation. But some people think it's a time period. Like I've done that. I did it for 6 months, I'm done. You notice how we say lifestyle change? Like, you know, it's so habitual that you was like, I gotta, like Friday, I didn't feel like going to the gym at all, Queenie. I was like, but my body said, get up, this is what you do.
Hmm.
So, and that's why, like, even in the four cornerstones of your success, I literally had to brainwash myself to say, if I don't work out, I'm gonna die. Like, I know it's
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
extreme, but
Hmm.
I seen a family member of mine have a stroke in their late 30s, and I was like, ugh. So for me to be diagnosed with high blood pressure in my 30s, it kind of scared me. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? Certain things you got no control over, but I got control over my actions and my new habits. So, yeah, transformation happens only if you become a master shifter and you continuously be aware of shifting in your whole lifestyle.
Okay. During the COVID era, you observed that people crumble when forced to face themselves. What do you believe was the greatest lesson we should all take from that season?
Oh man, the greatest lesson that we should take from COVID is stop being a master escape artist. A lot of times we are running from ourselves, and
Hmm.
COVID
Hmm.
sat our butts down to
Hmm.
say,
Hmm.
here you are. You got to deal with you now. So
Hmm.
you notice how we're so stimulated, like, oh, well, if I'm depressed, I can go out. I can go out, have friends, go out for drinks. I can go this place, that place. But now you're in isolation.
Hmm.
And isolation is going to do one or two things. It's going to cause you to go crazy and lose your mind.
Mhm.
or it's going to cause you to sit with yourself and say, I think I need to work on me, right? So the
Mhm.
greatest lesson is, and hopefully people got the lesson because if you continue to escape life by going on vacations, and I'm not saying vacations are wrong, but when you're leaving the life that you've built, and believe me, whether our life is good or bad, we've built it. That's just the reality. And trying to escape. So COVID taught us to deal with ourselves and
Mhm.
stop trying to escape, what we've done for our lives and start dealing with it.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about legacy building and your latest release. Now tell us about Infinite Legacy Blueprint.
All right. So I'm really excited about this book. So you can imagine being a financial advisor, most people come to me and they want to figure out how to make more money or
Mhm.
generational wealth and things like that. And throughout my research, I realized this: most high net worth families lose their wealth by the third generation, 90% of them. 70% lose it by the second generation. So I'm like, well, man, if they're losing it and they're not passing it on, like what gives us common folk a chance? So I realized that's why I was like, okay, Infinite Legacy Blueprint is not just about the transfer of physical wealth or monetary wealth, it's about the principles. So if you install the principles within your family and the life lessons and the values and things like that, along with the money, that's what creates the Infinite Legacy Blueprint. Because if I could pass down money and I don't pass down the principles, or prepare my family for the wealth, then I've lost, right? So that's what sparked that, realizing that people are so caught up in money, but they're caught up in possessions and they're not caught up in principles. And this book is all about principles.
Went on mute. Okay, in this book, you talk about aligning the big game of life with the little game of life. Can you explain what that looks like in everyday practice?
Yeah. All right. So the big game of life. And I'm sure you understand this because you have the book. The big game of life is self-actualization, who you actually become in the process on your journey to life. The little game of life are always the external things that we're chasing, like financial success,
Mhm.
successful business, million-dollar corporation, billion-dollar corporation. So aligning the big game of life with the little game of life will always make you realize the big game is always going to be more important than the little game. And how do you do that in everyday practice? You realize the end goal, and you play this game that I call flash forward, right? So
Mhm.
every decision that you make now, you consult your elder, wiser self. You say, at the end of my life, would I be happy with the decision that I'm making right now? And does this decision align with the big game of life for me? And the big game of life for me is my values and principles, the bigger mission of impacting the world and, my family and things like that. Because I just personally believe at the end of your life, you're not going to be on your deathbed and thinking about the millions of dollars that you made or didn't make. You're going to think about the family that you're leaving behind, the people that you're leaving behind. So if you learn how to put those two games together, you'll operate like that throughout. So you'll never forget that, yeah, I'm after the millions or the billions, and yeah, I want a successful business,
Mhm.
but the most important things, my North Star should always be the big game of life.
Right, right. You often emphasize responsibility in legacy building. How can families have honest communications about money, excuse me, and inheritance without becoming uncomfortable?
Hmm. Well, I want you to think about this. It has to be a practice. You only become uncomfortable because the conversations are not being had.
Right.
So the more that we have the conversation, and it is uncomfortable. Like when I talk to my kids and we have family meetings, and especially my daughter, because she's a daddy's girl, and I'm like, I'm preparing you for a time when I'm not going to be here. She
Mhm.
was like, at first when those conversations happened, she was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that, and nobody wants to hear that. But the truth is, none of us are getting out of this thing alive, right? So we prepare our family and we say, hey, this is the reason why we love and we live the life that we live now is because one day we're going to die and we're going to pass on. So we need to have these conversations. This is what I expect of you. This is who this is how you live now, so you'll have no regrets when that day comes. That's the most important part. We talk about, especially in our community, we need to stop having the taboo of talking about life insurance, talking about wealth, or talking about money because it's uncomfortable, you know. So I think the only way that you can make it be more comfortable is almost like, hey, if I go to the gym for the first time, I'm uncomfortable. But after 3, 4 months of working out, doing some of the similar workouts, it's easier, so much easier. So doing it and practicing it.
Okay. What's the most common financial or life misconception that holds people back from building a true legacy?
Hmm. The biggest thing that I've seen, and this is more like why I introduce myself as a money, legacy, and life coach, is because the biggest challenge that I've seen is people do not feel like they are enough or they have enough. That's the biggest thing that I've seen. And what I mean by that is that when I talk to people about it, they don't have the faith. So I can never do that because they have a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of programs, a lot of money programs. They're like, well, I'm not rich. Well, I don't have the good job that so and so has, or I just can't save money. As opposed to it may, and here's the thing about it. A lot of times we get stuck in this reality of how things are right now. But in order to create a new reality, you have to open yourself up to the possibilities and you have to open yourself up to thinking completely different. So the biggest challenge I have with dealing with people is, and you'll be surprised, it's not even the money. Money's not the issue. I deal with people who have millions of dollars and sometimes they're like, "Ah, do you think this is enough? Do I have enough?" So enough is a scarcity mindset and it has nothing to do with the money, but it's like, okay, the first thing I have to teach them is I am enough. I have enough and I have everything that I need to build what I need to build. Because I always say God has done the work already. Like the trees, everything is here. Your resources are here. You just have to know how to be resourceful and have faith in your ability. So the biggest superpower anybody has is their faith and then building up the skills and the ability to do or build whatever they want. So it's hard to do that when you're coming from a place of I don't have enough. I'm not enough and all these other things. So that's the biggest thing.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, let's play a little fun game where readers get to know you beyond your books.
All right.
Ready?
I'm
If
ready. Are you
if
ready?
you yeah. If you weren't writing or coaching, what completely different career do you think you'll be doing right now?
Mm. You know what's so funny about that, see, Queenie? This is the weird thing. I'm living in my purpose, whether I write a book, like so my biggest thing is I'm a teacher. By like what would I be doing? I will be teaching. Like I've done personality tests and it aligns me with being a mentor, coach, and teacher. I just so happen to be teaching more about us in different areas of life, like relationships, finance and things. Just regular. I would be doing very similar things, and whether I wrote a book or not, you know. So, and the reason why I say that is because when people get to know me and we have conversations, like I'll give you this example. Since I've left Brunch with the Bros, which is a community of brothers who are helping each other get along in different areas of their life, having deeper conversations. During the break, one brother asked me, "Are you a therapist?" And I said, no, I'm definitely not a therapist, right? But I believe in teaching and helping people and serving people and pouring into them the things that have made me a better human being. Because ultimately, like, I just believe that we're not here just to work. We're here to discover how can I be a better human being. So I would still be doing the same thing. I'm just blessed to be able to write it in a book so that people could read, but I also want to teach it to people. I want to live it and exemplify it. So I would be. if you got rid of all these books, I still would be doing what I'm doing right now, just on a scale of my interactions.
Okay, okay. Coffee, tea, or something stronger? What fuels your writing sessions?
All right, say that again.
Would you want coffee or tea or something stronger?
I love coffee in the morning. I
Oh,
love,
really?
yeah. Let me tell you something. All right, Queenie. I gave up the coffee and being married to my wife, and she brew coffee every morning. And I said, I think I'm gonna go back to coffee. But I'm gonna tell you the weird thing about coffee is I like the taste of it. It's not even about the stimulant, but I like the taste of it. And it's probably due to my nana who passed away. She used to buy, when I was like 13, 14, she bought coffee ice cream. And now
Okay.
that's probably, I know it. I'm like, somebody said coffee ice cream. That's probably why I love the taste of coffee, because 13, 14 years old, my nana's like, here's some coffee ice cream. I'm like, this is good.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
it probably stemmed back from my childhood, but coffee for sure. I do like tea, but coffee is one of those things that I just like the taste of coffee.
Hmm. If you had to choose a theme song that plays every time you walked into a room, what would it be?
Mm.
And why I asked this question because my friend that lives in Virginia, she had a author event 2 months ago, and
Hmm.
when they had to come in, when she presented them, she made them come in with a theme song. It was hilarious.
You know her thing? What was her theme song? You remember?
No, it was different authors that she brought in.
Oh, she brought in. Oh,
Yes, yes.
I would probably, there's probably two songs that I would go to. Yes, I love music. So in my former life, I was a music producer, just FYI. Yeah, I love R&B, I love hip hop. So I would probably play either Nas, You're the Man, or Jay-Z public service announcement. Allow me to reintroduce myself. For some,
Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah, that song or Nas, they have the hook. I forgot who sings the hook, but it's like You're the Man. Because hearing that is just a reminder that a lot of times these mind terrorists says, oh, like I said, I'm not enough, or like, how am I going to impact them? And I realized, like, okay, I'm the man. But it doesn't mean that you're not. It just means that, okay, I'm the man. I'm the man to do this. This is what I signed up for. So I would probably have You're the Man playing in the background. And every time I hear that, like the last verse, and I know you might not be familiar with Nas, but the last verse he said, metamorphosis of what I changed to, and thank God I'm so thankful, because we all go through a metamorphosis and we realize like we have these doubts along the way. Like me speaking on stages, sometimes I'm like, wow, like I'm a little kid from the project, people are listening to me.
Hmm.
Then I gotta remind myself, like, okay, I'm the man. God has appointed me to do what is for me, not for anybody else. And it doesn't take it away from anybody else. So I would probably have either that song playing or Jay-Z allow me to reintroduce myself. Yeah.
Okay. What's one thing about you that readers would be surprised to know?
Oh, wow. Oh, what would Rita be surprised to know? A lot of people think I'm a health junkie, right? Um, I'm really like, and I have this internal fat boy. I'm just being honest. I,
Mhm.
I love food. I love food, and like no disrespect for people who don't love it or who do love it. Like, like I have, for me, I have to discipline myself because I'm a foodie. Like I get excited over eating food, and that's probably why I struggle with my weight a lot when I was, so, and then again, being a personal trainer and training people to lose weight, I became their therapist. And for somebody who, if imagine somebody being fit all their life or not struggling, they wouldn't understand that.
True.
So for me to do everything that I do right now, most people say that I'm super authentic because I live with the imposter syndrome, right? I had a messed up family. My finances were horrible. So for me, it's like, okay, um, like people don't, like I struggle with that, and I'm not perfect. I think the biggest thing, because people know me and and they respect me and stuff like that, but I'm just letting them know, like, I'm a human being who go through the same challenges that everybody else. Now, the biggest thing that I've learned is I just don't stay there for too long. So, like I bought some ice cream last night, and I ate a little bit of it. Queenie, you laughing at me. I ate a little bit of it, but I'm like, all right, that's it. You're gonna go overboard, So Rita, she's like, oh yeah, but yeah, I struggle like everybody else, you know, with different things. I just happen to just step back up and say, all right, because I think the pain of remaining the same, that was a greater pain for me. Like, oh, like I don't want to be the same. So, but I just don't believe that you have to give up everything because there's still, even though there's this new growth, Queenie, there's still parts of me that remain. Okay, that's Dre. That's still Dre. Um, and I'll leave you with this for that question is I've learned to love and incorporate my shadow parts, the parts that I don't love so much, with my higher self. Like to me, that's a win-win. I'm not here to be perfect. I'm not here to be like, oh, above thou, but I'm here to say that I have a higher self like you, and I choose to tap into it. But I also have a shadow self, parts of me that I don't like so much. But I know I'm here, like my therapist says, I'm here for the whole spectrum. Like literally, like I'm not just this guy, I'm not just this guy, but I'm all of it. And I want that experience. But I want to, in order to keep it in control, I realize that, hey, I have to be disciplined in certain areas.
Mhm, mhm. What's the most fun or adventurous thing you ever done that people would never guess just by looking at your profession?
Man, that is what I call fun. Most people be like, that's boring, you know? Like, I'm gonna be honest and transparent with you, Queenie. Like, what what I call fun, most people be like, really? You call that fun? I don't, I don't, I don't know. Being older, I don't, for me, fun is reading books, going to the gym, laughing with my bros, hanging out with my wife and kids. Like that's super fun. Going on vacation. I'm not a bungee jumping type of guy. I'm not a daredevil. I drive slow, you know. I'm glad my wife loved me for who I am because
Mhm, mhm,
and I don't, and somebody who's like that, that's fine. But I realized that I define what's fun for me, you know.
mhm,
I used to, when I was in the music industry, I used to drink, I used to party, but as I grew, I realized that, man, that's not
mhm,
fun for me. It's not fun. And if anybody is there and they call it fun, that's fine. That's cool. But I get to define what fun is for me. Like,
right.
yeah, I don't ever want to live anybody else's definition of fun. Because I think that's one of our biggest challenges. We see people having fun on the internet, and we're like, I need to do that. Do you really? And then you do it, you're like, like I thought fun was having like more than one woman growing up. Not fun, you know? Like
Mhm,
like a lot of times we overly like we like, hey, I just need all this external stuff to make me feel good or to get rid of that void on the inside. So, um, yeah, I'm just a born cat from a place called Middletown, Connecticut. As one person said, yeah, I'm just a big nerd.
mhm. Well, Dre, this has been inspiring and interesting. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your story. Now, before we go, where can readers find you and your books?
All right. So the latest books you can find at barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com, GC4 Enterprises, my publisher. Thank you so much. The other two books, first two books, you can find at Amazon, or they can just honestly, if you want to get access to the books, you can go to workwithdreparker.com. You can go there and click on books, and you have access to every book that you need.
Okay, and share your books again.
You have the first one, the four cornerstones of your success.
Mhm.
You have the second one, the four cornerstones of marriage. I'm gonna show this picture. My wife hates this picture, but hey, we got over it. She got over it. The third book is Becoming More, How to Get the Most Out of Life. Then the latest book is The Infinite Legacy Blueprint.
All right. And what's your website again?
Workwithdreparker.com.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming in. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, y'all.